Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. This is the Raging Verbalist number 55. In spite of those saying you can't drive at 55, you can do a Raging Verbalist at 55. So today is a very special one, and I just, of course, obviously want to welcome the lovely Sandra. Hello, Sandra. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and this is going to be a good one. We're calling this one the Battle for Christmas. And for those of you out there wondering what it is, it's called having to deal with the fat man. So, yeah, and I'm not talking about, somebody who's just rotund. I'm talking about the guy in the red suit, little white trim, going out there doing whatever he's going to do. So, for those of you who are not subscribers yet, please subscribe. Also, go out there and give me a thumbs up. If you won't give me a thumbs up, give Sandra a thumbs up. Just that alone will mean that she can hang on for just one more week. Also, you can come and join the Facebook group, Position to Win book.com, position2winbook.com. Sandra will see you typing in questions and we'll get to them eventually and all of that. So, anyway, Sandra, let's talk about the battle for Christmas.
All right. So, how does Christmas affect businesses, big and small?
So there's really two camps. One group of companies, one group of businesses are affected by Christmas because they die by the Christmas and holiday season. They do an inordinate amount of business in Christmas time, the holidays, and all of that. And they just go wild, wild, wild. However, there's a bunch of businesses that, well, and this is like if you're selling business to business, if you're selling services, that have nothing to do with Christmas. I mean, there's no wreath, there's no elves, there's none of those types of things. There's, all of that is out the window. So, how it affects businesses is that if you're on the other side, and that's why we're calling this the battle for Christmas, is that you're battling Christmas, you're battling Santa, you're battling those issues. First moved to California and I discovered how bad this phenomenon was as I was selling B2B, I was selling high tech, and all of a sudden I noticed people started checking out. Now, I didn't really notice that before I moved to California. I'm sure it was in other places, but in California, I'm like, you can't even blame the weather for heaven's sakes because the weather is going to be great. And what happened is people just started talking about how, well, it's going to be the holidays soon. And all of a sudden, days started disappearing and things just couldn't get done. And even though that was the case, it was like almost no one was thinking about the ramifications and effect of it. And it affected sales, it affected getting things done, it affected all of those things. In fact, it was beyond belief of what was taking place. It was tough because you would sit there and say to your boss, say, by the way, quotas didn't go down for the month. Sales weren't supposed to go down, even though we had nothing to do with Christmas. What we were selling were definitely not stocking stuffers. So I started to have a real disregard for the fat man in the red suit. So that's how it affects it. It affects it in a lot of ways. Sandra, what else do you have?
How is this Christmas different from any other Christmas?
So this Christmas is even kookier. So we have this coronavirus, the COVID-19, we have all of that. And now everybody is talking about how, well, what can we or can't we get done? I was just on a road trip, and as you know, road trips are always fun, especially when you're sitting out there and you're looking around. And what I can tell you is that it doesn't feel as Christmassy, but people are talking about what are they going to do. See, before people would be working like trying to get everything done so that way at the end they weren't going to be home. And now, well, they've been home and now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. And as we're putting this together, as we're recording this, California looks like it's going to go through another lockdown. Yay. And all of that. So this year is going to be a different Christmas. And of course, people are ordering stuff online. Before we jumped on this, I was looking at some presents and things I was going to buy, and we have to deal with all of that. So this is going to be different. My guess is that those who have an online presence, that would be Amazon and others, are going to do probably pretty well. But everybody else, not so good. And in fact, I have not been to a mall or a store in a mall in a really long time. Now, I'm not speaking for everybody out there, but I know that traffic is way down. And I can tell you when I was on this road trip, and I was actually pulled into a mall parking lot to kind of get my bearings, it was very empty for this time of year. So I think that there's a lot of collateral damage that's going to happen this year because of it. And do not be surprised if there's going to be some, well, potentially crazy sales right after Christmas. By the way, the best day to buy a Christmas tree, though it won't necessarily make your family ecstatic, is usually on December the 26th, because by that point in time, you're down to just whatever is on the lot and they're going to sell it before they put it through the wood chipper. Just saying, if you want to save a lot of money, but actually, that's usually not a fun time to buy a Christmas tree. Okay, Sandra, what is the next thing that we have?
All right. What businesses are impacted in a negative way by Christmas?
So, if you are doing anything that is business to business, and I have an engineering services company that I run, everyone talks about shutdown. And shutdown means that in this case, December 19th is the last day of the month. I mean, think about it. Well, that is how many days before we're through with it? The 19th. So we have from the 20th through the 31st, 11 days where this thing is going to be shut down and no business is going to happen. And in fact, we just did a shipment to our number one customer. And they said, look, we'd prefer if it was on dock by December 15th. Of course, we got there earlier, but those businesses are negatively impacted by Christmas. So let me tell you a Christmas tale. I was still selling high tech. I wasn't a consultant. I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. Some could argue I was always the raging verbalist from a young age, but I wasn't doing that. And my wife and I, decided that what would be really cool would be to take some time at the end of the year and go into the calendar year and go to visit her family in Ohio and spend Christmas back there, which of course meant that we could, be out there in freezing cold weather and do all of that, see all of her relatives and go to these big gatherings and do all of these things. So off we trek and we go to Ohio. And by the way, there's a reason why I moved to a warmer climate. So we're in Ohio and, the guys I'm working for, Mercury Computer Systems, call me up and they say, hey, John, there's this order that's hanging and we really have to get this thing in because we need these numbers. We got to get them. And I'm like, hey, I'm hanging out at my sister-in-law's house. Now, here's how ancient the technology was. This is in the days before cell phones that you could carry around. And in fact, her phone wasn't even though it looked like a dial, a digital phone, a push button phone. This is a more accurate way to describe it. What you had to do is you had to dial into a dial around service, switch the setting on the phone, and then punch in your codes so I could make long distance calls. I know for some of you, you're going, how old is this guy? Was that the Jurassic period, and all of that? Kind of, almost. Anyway, so I find out where this big, massive $800,000 plus order is, and it is stuck in the system. And I end up calling this woman, Linda, and I say, Linda, there's this order that's working its way through. And she said, yeah, I know. Let me go find it. Her job was an expediter. And she goes, let me tell you what you need to do. So she tells me the problem is that there's a lot of signatures that have to go onto this requisition before it can be processed as a purchase order. Yikes. That's bad. So I said, let me get creative. Because again, the guys I was working for said, John, if you can do this, boy, we got to do this. Now, I've had a lot of different monikers. That's a fancy way of saying, labels. And I, at one point in time, was known as Mr. 11th Hour because I could pull in deals at the 11th hour or maybe the 13th hour. And I call her back and I said, hey, I found out that this guy, Lloyd, who was one of the people who needed to sign off on this, Lloyd is having his big Christmas party. Take the requisition form. Now, by the way, they hadn't hit shutdown, but here's what happens at big companies. If you build up all of these vacation days, you take them in conjunction with the big shutdown, and you could take like almost a month off. So nothing was happening. And I convinced her to take the package with her, go to Lloyd's party, and explain to Lloyd who the request was from. Thank goodness Lloyd really liked me. And Lloyd gathered them up. He gathered the flock. And instead of going to a manger, went to his kitchen counter and had everybody sign this thing so I could get that 800, turned out $840,000 order. I got to tell you that today you couldn't even get close to doing that because as they've added more technology, they've built in things that prevent that. But that was my example of how Christmas was trying to kick my ass and I wasn't going to let it happen. And of course, the amazing thing is the order came through, everybody got excited. You could hear Handel's Messiah playing in our heads. All of that was good stuff. And we wrapped it up and we said, there you go. We now have done it. We've actually completed this and we have done the amazing. So it affects businesses, especially if you're selling business to business, and it will kick your ass in a very much a negative way. Now, what won't kick your ass and what is a great holiday gift, something that you should get and read and cherish, of course, is a way to make sure that 2021 is going to be your best year ever. And the best way to do it that I know of, and again, I'm not objective. I know that I may be a little biased, but what I would say is that you got to check out this, which is most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win by John Paul Mendoza. That would be me, Gabe Batista, my co-conspirator, my co-author, my business partner. Check it out. The book is out there. You can go to Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can go get it on Kindle. You can also go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. Go check it out. And it is still time to get an autographed copy before the man in the red suit comes to your house. Something to think about. Also, we have another book called Remote Work for a Better World. That's only available. That's exclusively on Amazon. Kindle, go check it out. And it is affordably priced for the holidays at 99 cents. Okay, Sandra, what is the next thing? The next thing that we have on our list about when we're battling Christmas.
How are you dealing with the current lockdown going into effect?
Well, it's kind of interesting because, we're a little fatigued by this thing. And the last thing we want to do is go through another lockdown. I'm just trying to bide my time. I am a believer that this is we're going to get to the other side. And for everyone who's out there, all I can say is do the best you can to not catch this thing ever, if there's a way to do that. I'm excited about the vaccine, but I know that this lockdown is probably not going to be necessarily the last one. That's why I've got to run out and, get some things done. And what I'm doing is just trying to keep on a even mental keel. And my suggestion to everybody is that, we are at the beginning of the end. I don't think we're at the end of anything, but we're at the beginning of the end, and that you should keep that in mind and keep yourself sane, keep yourself healthy, and most importantly, make it a productive time. I do not understand how people are, I've heard this, they're bored. They can't find anything to watch on Netflix. or Amazon Prime or whatever it might be. All I can say is start working on what you're going to do for 21. Start thinking about how you're going to get your head wrapped around what you're going to go out and accomplish. And if you do that, I think you're going to be saner by doing positive action and moving forward. If you don't, I think that you're going to be, well, you're going to be like all these other people who are sitting there pissing and moaning. Most of the time, when, by the way, when a crisis ends, and this, I see this a lot by doing turnarounds, is that they're really not ready to go attack things because, of course, they have been sitting there, kind of in an agitated, vegetative state, not actually getting stuff done. So while I do not relish the lockdown, I have things to do. I've got projects to work on, and I'm going to make it as productive as I possibly can. And of course, because of technology, I'll be able to keep doing what we're doing now, which is recording the Raging Verbalist and getting it out there every Friday. Okay, Sandra, what's the next one?
Okay. How do you deal with crashed expectations this Christmas?
Now, there's a lot of people who are going to be pretty rough around the edges. They can't see their loved ones. They can't go do what they want to do. And I know that there's lots of coping strategies of what people want to deal with. So I would ask you, Sandra. So what are you going to do as far as, because again, lockdown, crashed expectations. So what are you going to do? I mean, we haven't heard, because I know that you're creative. You got some ideas. So what are you going to do to kind of cope with some of these and fight against these crashed expectations?
Yeah, so what we were thinking of doing, at least for the family close by or closer by, is at the very least drive to their house and drop off their presents, even if it's just a little wave through their window. But one idea that I did have for the littlest nieces and nephews was maybe dresses, maybe Mr. and Mrs. Claus, or at least the hat or something, and tap on the window and surprise them with presents. But we'll see. So at least it gets us out of the house. Tired of being inside.
So what you're thinking about doing is you're going to go out on a crusade. You're going to go do a little stalker behavior, knock on windows. Now, you're not recommending doing this to people you don't know. I mean, that could.
Correct. Only people you know.
Only people you know. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just want to make sure. So
you could make things a little more exciting if you do it to strangers, but I don't recommend that.
Yeah. Go over and tap on their window. Hey, in there. That's right. It's Mr. and Mrs.
Correct.
Claus. Yeah. We've had a little nip from the bottle. Hey, little
Christmas
Captain
cheer.
Morgan. Yeah. Yeah. Where's the eggnog? Yeah. I could see that.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty cool idea. And I'm sure that everybody will like that, And I assume that, maybe you could, like they do with the bomb detection, you put it in the driveway and then you step back and the garage door cranks its way up and a little robot comes over, picks it up and shakes it a little bit, tilts it back and forth, listens for any kind of mechanical timing devices and then rotates it back in and the garage door slowly descends. Yeah, I can see all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, I think part of it is doing, I mean, Sandra's got a great idea. Go out there. Now I don't know, I mean, I don't really have a Christmas outfit that I usually wear, but you're just going to have to watch because we are going to have a Christmas show this year because Raging Verbalist will take place on Christmas. So we'll have one for that. So maybe Sandra will in fact wear her, regale us in that Christmas spirit. So, okay. So what is our next thing? So what do we have? Because I know that we're rolling along here on time. What do we have?
All right. What can businesses do to deal with Christmas 2020?
I think the biggest thing is that you have to actually reach out and touch all of your customers. You have to tell them, hey, we're here. We're trying to make sure that you're aware that, that we're still in business. Tell them that you care about them. I know that there's this whole, should you say happy holiday? Should you say Merry Christmas? Should you say this? Should you say that? You should say what you think is right. Your customers will know whether or not you are doing the right thing. So I think that what businesses can do is to go and do some nice things. Also, if there's a way to help others in the community, that's a good idea. It's a good thing to do. If you're concerned because maybe you have someone who has, potentially could have a problem, and you're trying to stay away from things, maybe that's a little bit different. But anything you can do to make the world seem a little bit better and a little brighter and a little more normal. And my suggestion is do anything you can other than complain about the crisis, because that seems to be a big deal right now. People are complaining about the crisis incessantly. And all I can say is this is the virtual equivalent of standing out on your front yard and holding the wooden staff and shouting to the gods, no more. And you see a lot of that. And I would say, quit wasting your time. And as a business, go connect with people and connect with them and talk to them and tell them that you care, and tell them that you want to do business, and tell them that this too will pass, and that you plan to be here in 2021, and that the holidays are going to be, well, they're going to be different, but they're going to be the best they can be. And frankly, the battle for Christmas is just that. You have to battle every day to get your message heard, when the world is, of course, focused on, usually at this time, focused entirely on Christmas. But now there's a duality, and that in and of itself is an odd thing, because, of course, people are talking a lot about the virus, talking about what's going on. I mean, when I saw, the video of the woman getting the first vaccine in the UK, I mean, I guess you could say the shot seen around the world. I mean, well, it's crazy. But there they were, all these cameras. She's getting her shot. Well, hopefully that's the first of many millions and hundreds of millions and billions, and we get out of this and we're on the other side. But let me share with you that you should probably have patience, and you should think about that. Don't let this season go by. And frankly, hopefully it doesn't crash your business. And what you can do is you can reach out to people, even if you have nothing to do with Christmas or the holidays. Reach out to them and say, I'm thinking about you, I'm remembering you, and see what you can do. And if you do that, it will make it better and more memorable. So, Sandra, any last thoughts about how to battle Christmas? I mean, cookies, PlayStation things. I mean, give us one or two little glimpses from Sandra's world in the holidays. So what one or two things are you thinking about that will make this Christmas a little more normal?
Focusing on presents, I guess, getting that all together for the family. That's one thing I've been doing. I didn't decorate as much this year, but haven't gotten to it yet, I guess. But that's something to do for fun, keep you a little sane. Call that family member. Maybe you can't be with them, but you could Zoom it up or a phone call. If they don't know how to use Zoom, got some family that have problems managing video calls.
Little technical difficulties. Well,
Yeah,
see,
yep.
so I think those were all good, and of course, one of the things you can do is do group calls like this, because we can use Zoom, and when you do that, you can go bring in people and have some fun doing that. And with that, I would just say that the battle for Christmas goes on and rages as we go forward. Even Santa is a little locked up on this go round because of what's going on with the virus. Stay safe, stay sane. Oh, I know. Hang on. I know something that's going to happen this year that didn't happen in the past, which is there'll be fewer Christmas parties. So there's going to be fewer people who are going to get in trouble at Christmas parties. So if you happen to be one of those people, see, this is the universe helping you not get in trouble. Not saying that people will, but they do. Anyway, go out and have a great, safe one, and then We're rolling up to our Christmas special. You won't want to miss it. And I mean, I don't know if we're going to bring in any special entertainment value, but we will definitely be here. So I'm John Paul Manducci, the Raging Verbalist. This is Raging Verbalist number 55, The Battle for Christmas. I want to thank, of course, Sandra, the lovely Sandra, for coming on. And you have a great week, and we'll be back here next Friday.